me show you where we're at here. We are installing everything now. I went ahead and installed the case bearings, seals, crankshaft. Everything is in here now. We just put the piston on. Everything's going together well so far. I will mention that we did a little bit of port matching here to match the cylinder. This makes sure that you've got even flow and you're not getting any turbulence. You don't want any steps or ledges in there. So I have to do a little bit of case porting also in this port up here. So get everything nice and even. Just put the intake on with the reed valve. We're just going to close this up so we don't get any dirt in here. So I'm going to temporarily install the cylinder now after we get the piston ring and everything on here. But it's going together well so far. Getting the bearings on are kind of tricky. I didn't show that process, but you can see online there's plenty of other people that have made videos about it. Essentially, you have to heat up the cases to like 150 degrees, 140, 150 degrees, get them real hot, and then you freeze the bearings, and then the bearings drop right into the cases. But you have to get them super cold and you have to get the cases super hot. Then you got to freeze the crankshaft to get the crankshaft on there. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but anyway, if you want to look into those videos, you can find other people's. We'll keep going here. I'm going to get this thing buttoned up. So, well, not buttoned up finally, but we'll get it closed up so we're not going to get dirt inside here because this is an open environment now. Cylinder is on and mounted. I put a real thin base gasket on there just to test, so we'll see what the squish is set at. If you guys have never put together a two-stroke before, you have to, there's a bunch of fitting and unfitting. You got to take stuff off, put stuff on. Basically, we'll use our dial gauge here to set ignition or to set the timing also. It's gonna show us exactly where everything's at, top dead center, and then we'll turn it. I'll show you. It's pretty easy once you know what you're doing. We've got our manifold on there. This is sealed up nice, so now we don't have to worry about dirt, dust getting in there at the moment. I have some paper towels on both ends just covering up the inlet and out and the exhaust. I'm putting together the gear case now, or the gear set, as you can see. So the main gears and the secondary gears have to be pressed onto the shafts. Just a regular 2-ton press or whatever you got can do it. Just got to line them up and put them on. They're just press fit. And this really nice Malossi case cover goes over. So I'm going to seal this up, put some sealant on there, and then slap this baby on. That's all nice and covered up now. So we got our gears installed, get this cover on, put the plugs in, got a vent here, dipstick there, plug on the bottom. Pretty basic stuff. Next we're gonna tackle the transmission. We'll get that lined up and squared up. I put some sealant on here, so I'm gonna let that sit overnight so it dries up before I put any fluid in there, but you gotta put some gear oil, which we have some here. So we'll put some gear oil in it, get the transmission together like I was saying. It's in that box there. Then we can put the cover on, test fit that, set up the ignition timing. We'll put the inner rotor ignition on. It goes on the other side. And we'll be getting closer to that point where we're going to mount this thing up. Also have to check the squish here, so we're going to do that, but we're going to let this sit overnight. So by TV magic, it's the next day. So this is dry now. We're going to go ahead and do the CVT now. This is the overrange MHR, and it includes the belt, variator, ramp, some grease, rollers are inside the variator, and here's the drive pulley. This goes in the back here. We have to assemble this. We got to put the spring on, put the clutch. The clutch is over there, so we'll get the clutch. We'll put that on here. We'll get this whole thing together and make the CVT ready to go. Let's get to it. All right, so the transmission is together. As you can see, we've got the overrange and the clutch on here. That's all set up. This should be really good. I love that finishing plate. That cover is really nice. So this is an overrange. If you guys don't know what that means, it basically is what it sounds like. The range that the transmission is able to shift, it's a CVT transmission, is much farther, or it's over stock. And the case has to be specifically milled for that. In this case, it's cast for it, so it's good. You get a deeper low gear and a longer transmission gear, so it goes all the way faster, higher top speed. And the variator also has to be able to cope with that. It opens and closes further. So you can't have the electric start. You got to get rid of the electric start gear and all that stuff. All those extra accoutrements are gone now. And instead, you've got this overrange transmission that's able to go into that high speed. These are aluminum pulleys as well, so they dissipate a lot more heat. You can see they're cross-drilled, and they dissipate a lot more heat, and they maintain a lot better traction, so to speak. So transmissions together, cylinders on. We still have to measure squish and do all that, so this is just soft mounted. It's not actually torqued down yet, but everything's where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and fit the cover now, which we went ahead and installed the kicker. So that's all in. That's a pain in the butt if you've never done that before. So let's put the cover on. And then also we can test fit the carburetor and the intake and stuff. Just make sure that's all done. And we're going to do the inner rotor ignition, which is right here in this box. Man, this thing is looking good. So there's the case. As you can see, it's got this great vent here with a filter built into it. Air comes in there, comes out through back here. So keeps the CVT nice and cool at speed and prevents it from getting out of whack. So here's the inner rotor. We're going to be doing this now. This is the ignition system. They call it inner rotor because the rotor is on the inside instead of on the outside in like a clutch, or like a flywheel. So this setup is basically mounting to the other side of the crankshaft. So we're going to turn the motor around, flip it around. We have to set this up. Setup on these is a little bit crucial. You got to get it just right. But once you do, you're in luck because you've got ignition all the way to 20,000 RPM, baby. Here's the ignition module. You can see it has presets on it. So you can actually flip and advance and retard your ignition system based on how you're riding. More bottom end, you want an advanced ignition. For more top end, you want that retard. So you know me, full retard, baby. That's how I roll. So let's get this thing on, and we're almost done with this build now. With everything mounted up here in the ignition, as you can see, so here's the rotor. That's the inner rotor, and this is the pickup for the coil to get the signal. That's the way that it works. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you, I've already got it set up, but I'm going to show you how it's set up. So we've got a dial indicator here that's touching the top of the piston that's going to let us know when we've hit top dead center. Let me put something under this so it sits nicely. Okay. So we've got the dial indicator set up, and we're going to turn this now until you can see the pistons moving up and down. You see that? And now we're going to turn it until it stops. So right there, I've already set it. So that's 0 right there. And then we're going to turn it counterclockwise for advance. That way we can get it right where we want it. So we're going to go back 1.55 millimeters. Each full rotation is a millimeter. So there's one full rotation. And there's 5. So right there you can see it went back. So that's basically moving the piston back. So that's before top dead center. If I turn it clockwise, it'll head towards the top. If I turn it counterclockwise, it brings it down. So this is 1.5 millimeters before the piston reaches top dead center. I moved the stator here. I already did it, so you can see, and the two lines line up perfectly. So B set perfectly at that 1.55 millimeters before top dead center, which means that's when it's going to trigger this, and our timing is now set. The rest of the timing is controlled by the little box, and this is all you have to do to get it zeroed out at 1.55. So that's what it calls for the instructions. So that's where we set it. So now we're going to put our little cover on here, and I can try and mount that little fender up, but that's about it. The installation is nearing completion. And that's basically it. We've got it buttoned up. Obviously you can't put the header on because that goes underneath here, but it's ready to go. The pipe's ready to go there. This motor's buttoned up. Ignition is set. We're gonna get this thing to the shop now and then get the bike out there, pull the other motor out, put this one in, set the squish, make sure everything is good there. And once we know that's good, we'll torque everything down on the cylinder, fill her up with gear oil, and mount it to the bike. And we should be able to start this thing up and run. So we've got the different shims here that we'll be able to set the squish with. We'll do the squish in the next video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It was a kind of a simple build up. Nothing too crazy. Get the cover on there. These motors are actually really fun to build. You just have to understand how they work and just, have a basic understanding of mechanics so that you can get one together. But this has the 28 millimeter VHST carburetor. We're gonna see how that does. This air filter, I don't like the way this mounts, but it's the only way it would mount with the fender. I might do something different, but for now, it'll do the job. I really like this overall. It's a really nice package. Again, huge thanks to the guys at scootertuning.ca for helping us get this. And thanks to Malossi for making a fantastic looking product. We'll see how she does, guys. So let me know what you think. Let me know, put your guesses in the comments. What do you think it's gonna make for power? Because I really wanna see a big number. And you guys know how I am. I don't leave things alone. We did some nice porting, some port matching in there. We got these cases dialed in really nice. And we'll see. I'm excited. I'm kind of pumped. Here's the exhaust mount. It's really nice. Cast aluminum. So we'll get that on, obviously, when we get this mounted into the scooter. Really, really nice overall. I'm happy with this. So if you have a scooter of your own, you want to make some power with it, hit the guys up at scootertuning.ca and leave me a comment. Let me know what you've got. 94 cc's of Malossi MHR power going into the Aerox in the next video. I'll see you guys in the next one.